You were not born for comfort. You were commissioned for conquest. And until you move like a man with a sword in his spirit, you will suffer with the weight of unfulfilled potential. This message is not suggestion. It is spiritual warfare. If you don't listen closely, fear wins, drift wins. But if you do, if you receive this like a man under orders, you will stop begging for confidence and start walking like a man sent by God. Act as if you're on a mission from God, because you are. Every step you take, every word you speak, must echo purpose. Small talk, small goals, small energy, it all dies here. You are not experimenting with life. You are executing orders from heaven. From this moment forward, there is no small version of you left to protect. You were not born to try. You were not sent here to see how things unfold. You were not placed on this earth to gather opinions, beg for permission, or wait for someone else to light the fire under your feet. You were sent, commissioned, deployed by the infinite intelligence with orders sealed in your soul before your first breath. The tragedy of most men is not laziness, it is forgetfulness. They have forgotten who they are, and more importantly, why they are. They drift because they believe they are optional. They delay because they believe they are replaceable. And so they wait for a sign, a miracle, a mystical voice to shout from the heavens, "Now is your time." But the man of destiny does not wait for a trumpet. He moves because the mission is already written. Let me tell you this. The call you've been waiting for is not coming. It already came. It came the day you were born. The only reason you're still waiting is because you never answered. Most men walk this earth with their spiritual phone ringing, and they silence it with distractions, excuses, and the comfortable applause of small thinkers. But the man who is sent, he moves, not from comfort, not from confirmation, but from conviction. He walks like one who knows the throne awaits. He speaks like a man who is not experimenting with life, but fulfilling orders from the Most High. When others doubt, he decides. When others delay, he executes, and when others tremble, he builds. Andrew Carnegie did not wait for a boardroom of elders to approve his ambition. He vowed a sacred word, vowed to give away his fortune long before he even earned it. That is not business. That is mission. That is a man who knew his wealth was not his alone, but an instrument placed in his hand by the architect of the universe. Thomas Edison was not obsessed with light because of profit. He was consumed by vision. He had seen something no one else believed in, and he was not waiting for applause. He moved as though the world already depended on his fire. And eventually, it did. And then there was Theodore Roosevelt, a man born weak, sickly, and frail, but who looked into the mirror and declared, "This body will obey the purpose." He did not wait for strength. He chose it. He did not pray for comfort. He trained for conquest, and the world followed his will. What do all of these men share? Not just intelligence, not just will, not even wealth. They each acted as if they were sent. They did not dabble in their goals, and they did not wonder whether they were qualified. They moved as though a higher authority had handed them the blueprint and said, "Build it." And that authority did. So I ask you now, not politely, but prophetically, have you been moving like a man on assignment or like a man waiting to be asked? The world does not yield to men who wander. It yields to men who walk with a message. You must stop presenting yourself as an idea and begin living as a declaration. This means no more timid speech, no more asking if you're ready, no more treating your potential like a negotiation. Your life is not an audition, it is a deployment. And you were not sent here to see if you could win. You were sent here to declare that victory is non-negotiable. From this day forward, everything changes. Your tone changes, your walk changes, your decisions, your habits, your posture. They must all come under the authority of one truth. You were sent, not suggested. There is no maybe about your greatness. There is only when. There is no hope for impact. There is only command. And until you carry yourself like a man whose footsteps are guided by heaven, the world will continue to treat you like one more leaf in the wind. You do not get to play small anymore. You do not get to whisper when your mission demands thunder. And you do not get to postpone your calling because others don't see it yet. They will see it after you walk it, after you speak it, after you live it, but only if you start now. Repeat these until they become bone and breath. I am not here to blend, I am here to build. My breath is proof that God still has work to do through me. I am the man God chose, and I now choose his mission. I do not need confirmation, I need only to continue. My steps are not random, they are reinforced by heaven. Let these truths not just sit in your notebook, but echo in your mind. You are no longer playing the game of chance. You are executing a divine command. And from this moment forward, there are no more small days, no more weak speech, no more hesitation disguised as wisdom. You were sent. Start walking like it. The kingdom of heaven is not a refuge for the timid. It is a commission ground for the courageous. It does not send out applications to those who wish to try. It promotes only those who dare. The gates of divine purpose do not swing open for cowards. And let us be clear, cowardice is not the absence of muscle. It is the presence of fear in the place where faith should reside. It is when a man bows his head to the voice of what if, instead of rising to the command of go now. There are men today, many, who mistake their hesitation for humility. They believe that standing still, waiting, doubting, postponing is some holy form of meekness. But let me declare a truth that will slice through this false theology. Fear is not humility. It is rebellion dressed in politeness. When heaven has spoken and you do not act, you are not being cautious. You are being disobedient. You are rejecting the throne assigned to you by the infinite intelligence because your knees tremble more than your heart burns. That is not holiness. That is rebellion. God does not give instruction to the fearless. He gives it to the willing. But he promotes only the man who acts. Abraham did not know the destination, yet he walked. David did not size up the giant, he ran. Jesus did not flinch in the garden, he bled, but he obeyed. And Lincoln, oh Lincoln, he did not wait until the North believed in him. He did not wait until his heart was free of turmoil. He acted while his soul was still on fire with internal war, because he knew something that too many men forget. Obedience is not about comfort. It is about command. The man who waits to be fearless will wait forever. He will build empires in his imagination, but never drive the first stake into the ground. He will hold brilliant plans, powerful words, and bold ideas in the secret chamber of someday until the grave swallows them up with all the other men who almost did something. Do not let that be your end. Do not let the cemetery collect your courage with your breath. The battlefield is not once a year, it is daily. And your enemies do not wear armor. They wear soft voices that say, be careful. They whisper, now's not the time. They disguise themselves in logic, timing, and the appearance of maturity. But make no mistake, they are lies. Because the truth is this, every moment you hesitate, another man builds. Every time you postpone your bold move, your throne gathers dust. And the crown you were meant to wear inches further away, not because God changed his mind, but because you refused to move when he called. In the kingdom, faith is the only currency, and boldness is its proof. You must walk into rooms where you are not applauded and speak as if you've already won. You must make the decision before the approval. You must move your feet while your stomach is still sick. That is how the kingdom advances. Through men who wear courage like their skin, not as decoration, but as identity. You will not be rewarded for what you felt. You will be promoted for what you did in spite of what you felt. The man who walks boldly before he sees results is the man who earns the right to command them. You must show heaven you are ready by the way you move. And I do mean move. Speak up, take the call, sign the paper, burn the bridge. Do not wait for the fear to leave. Outrun it. And if you wonder whether this applies to you, then let me speak to you directly. Yes, it does. If you are alive, you are enlisted. You may have tried to run from the draft, but your orders are still active. And the longer you hide in hesitation, the more painful it will be when purpose finally knocks. Say aloud. Speak it until it becomes louder than the voice of fear. I am the man who moves before comfort. I do not ask fear for permission. I override it with obedience. My crown is not earned by waiting. It is placed through warfare. God does not need my safety. He needs my surrender. I wear boldness like armor. I walk into fire because heaven commands it. Let these truths be your armor. Let them be your shield. And above all, let them become your action. Because the kingdom does not employ cowards. It sends orders only to those willing to move through fear, not wait for its absence. And now that you know, there are only two choices: move or disobey. No man sent by God was ever meant to shrink, and yet that is what I see all around me. Men of fire walking like shadows, men of immense vision speaking in uncertain tones, men who once believed they had a mission, now hiding behind politeness, waiting for permission, afraid to appear bold lest someone call them arrogant. Hear me. There is no such thing as a humble ambassador of heaven who lives in fear of his own greatness. To carry the weight of divine assignment is no small matter. To walk as if your life were designed with holy precision is to walk with a weight on your back, yes, but it is also to walk with stature. You must learn this now. Smallness is not holy. Shrinking is not noble. To step back from your gift, to apologize for your power, to downplay your assignment in the name of modesty, is not humility. It is rebellion. It is a refusal to reflect the magnitude of the one who sent you. If you claim to be on a mission from God, then let your posture match the heavens. Let your tone carry weight. Let your movements cut through the noise of lesser men. Let your schedule speak of urgency. Let your walk declare purpose. Every step, every word, every decision must reflect this one truth: you were sent. Barnes did not walk into Edison's world with excuses. He did not introduce himself as a man who was interested in opportunity. He walked in as if the deal was already made. He moved as a man who had already seen the partnership before Edison ever entertained it. That is what made him unforgettable. He carried himself like a representative of something greater than comfort. He did not ask. He assumed. He did not whisper. He declared. And that, more than any resume or skill, was what sealed his fate. Do not represent God with mediocrity. You would not send a king's message through a timid beggar. You would not deliver gold in torn cloth. And yet that is what many men do. They carry heaven's vision in voices that tremble and faces that avoid eye contact. No more. If you say you are sent, then walk like it, speak like it, rise early like it, dress like it. Enter rooms with that silent, unshakable confidence that says, "This is not about me. This is about the one who sent me." You may say, "But I'm not ready. I don't feel worthy. I haven't proven anything yet." And I say to you, read your history. No great man ever felt ready. No man chosen by heaven waited until applause came before he moved. They acted first. They built while others doubted. They carried the identity of greatness long before the fruit appeared. You will not grow into your calling by playing small. You grow into it by acting from it. You will not become worthy by apologizing for your gifts. You become worthy by using them in the service of something higher. Speak with certainty. Not volume, certainty, not arrogance, alignment. Let your tone tell the world, I am not here by accident, I was sent. Wake up early, not because it is trendy, but because assignment does not wait. Dress with honor, not because of vanity, but because you respect the vessel chosen to carry the mission. Keep your home in order, not to impress guests, but because a man who carries divine instruction should not be surrounded by chaos. Write your plans with ink, not maybe. Decide with clarity, not apology. Hold your head high, not out of ego, but out of obedience. Stop blending in. Stop dimming down. Stop asking your doubt if it's okay to believe. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot say you're on a mission from heaven while acting like a man waiting for earth's permission. Say aloud, and do not whisper this: I am the type of man who reflects the magnitude of my mission. I do not shrink to make others comfortable. I speak with the weight of one who was sent. My routine is proof of my reverence. I am heaven's ambassador. I do not play small. Write these lines. Speak them daily. Etch them onto the walls of your mind. Because the longer you act beneath your calling, the more damage you do, not only to yourself, but to the ones who were waiting for your courage to wake them up. The people you were sent to serve do not need your politeness. They need your presence. They need to see a man who has stepped into divine authority and walks like it, speaks like it, lives like it. So let the world adjust to your greatness, not the other way around. You were sent, and it is time you moved like it. Before the world opens its eyes, the man on divine mission has already begun his work. You must understand this law. Every man sent from heaven must learn to rise before the noise of earth. No general waits for the battlefield to tell him when to wake. No commander steps into battle at noon with slumber in his eyes. The man on a sacred assignment begins at dawn. And he does not begin with coffee or conversation, he begins with command. The morning is not simply a block of time. It is the gate to your throne, the portal to your plan. It is the altar upon which you either place your sacrifice or your excuse. And if you do not claim it, the world will. If you do not speak your orders to the day, the world will send you into drift. You will obey everyone but yourself. You will become a man ruled by notifications, interruptions, appetites, and not by direction, intention, or conviction. You were not born to live reactive. You were sent to live ready. The men who built empires all understood this truth. Elbert Hubbard began his day in disciplined solitude, where he wrote, recited, and refined. His morning was sacred. It was not where he prepared for work. It was where he aligned with destiny. Henry Ford would rise early and pace, not with anxiety, but with imagination. He saw machines before they were metal. He saw flow before a single wheel turned. Why? Because morning is where vision speaks loudest and noise speaks least. Your assignment demands this of you: build your war room routine, not just something you do, something you obey. You are not waking up to see how the day goes. You are waking to declare how it shall go. You are not hoping for energy, you are commanding it. You are not scrolling through opinions, you are forging instruction. The first hour is the king's hour, and it must be protected like territory. You begin not with input, but output. You rise and you write. Your definite chief aim, your identity statements, your commands. You do not wait for inspiration, you install it. You do not ask for motivation, you declare your identity aloud. Like a general reading orders before a campaign, you must say aloud the man you are and the mission you serve. Do not rush, do not drift, do not stumble into your greatness half-dressed in indecision. Light a candle if you must, or sit in silence. But let the silence serve as your reminder. The world is not yet awake, but you are already advancing. The man with purpose is ahead, not because he is faster, but because he is clearer. And clarity is earned in silence, in repetition, in writing, in stillness. Take a journal and write your chief aim every day, the same words, with increasing conviction. Not because you forget, but because your subconscious forgets. Repetition is not redundancy, it is reprogramming. Then write the man you are, not the man you feel like, the man you decide to be. Say, I am the type of man who commands his day. I do not wait, I declare. I rise with assignment in my mouth and purpose in my posture. My soul is not sleepy. My soul is summoned. This morning belongs to me, and I belong to heaven. There is power in routine, but only if it is done with reverence. The morning is not casual. It is consecrated. It is where heaven whispers your orders. If you rush through it, you will miss the command. If you skip it, you will wander the rest of the day asking others what you should be doing. You will obey distraction instead of destiny. The great lie of modern life is that mornings are neutral. They are not. They are determinants. The man who claims his morning will claim the rest. The man who defends his silence will dominate the noise. The man who installs identity before breakfast will not be swayed by the opinions of others before lunch. Do not let comfort make a fool of you. A man on divine mission does not snooze. He does not react. He does not scroll. He rises. He writes. He walks into the day like a general, sword in hand, voice sharpened, spirit anchored. Let every action say, I am not here to explore, I am here to execute. And if your flesh resists, then discipline it. Wake anyway, write anyway, speak anyway, because the longer you wait to own your morning, the longer the day will own you. And a man who cannot command 1 hour has no business asking God to command nations. Rise early, speak loudly, walk deliberately, command your morning like a general, and the rest of your life will begin to salute. A man cannot serve 2 masters, nor can he fulfill heaven's mission while still taking counsel from yesterday's coward. The most dangerous man is not the one who disbelieves in purpose. It is the one who half believes. The man who walks with 1 foot in faith and the other in fear. Who wakes up with fire in his spirit, but still keeps a closet filled with excuses. Who writes his chief aim on paper, yet carries his past failures like sacred scripture in his mind. Let it be said clearly, if you are to be on a mission from God, your old self must die. The man who lived for applause, for safety, for softness, he must be executed, not negotiated with, not tucked away for rainy days of weakness. He must be removed, disavowed, and buried with no flowers on his grave, because he is the very thief of your calling. In outwitting the devil, the most sinister tool of the enemy is not fear, it is drift. And drift, my friend, wears the mask of balance, logic, and waiting until things calm down. Drift is that false voice that says, you're doing fine, when your soul is screaming otherwise. It whispers, you can grow without discomfort. It teaches you to blend in, to compromise, to make room in your purpose for people and patterns that never belonged. But let me remind you of this spiritual law. God does not promote a man who refuses to die to himself. Andrew Carnegie did not become the steel king by polishing his past. He left it. He left the comfort of safety, the predictability of routine, the sentimentality of who he had once been. He burned the bridge to mediocrity and never rebuilt it. His friends changed. His habits changed. His vocabulary changed. Because Carnegie knew destiny is expensive, and the currency it demands is your former identity. So how do you execute the old self? First, write his obituary, literally. Take a journal and write down every trait, every excuse, every belief, every pattern that has kept you small. Write, here lies the man who waited. Here lies the man who played humble to avoid being seen. Here lies the man who blamed, who begged, who bargained. And then, burn it. Burn the page. Do not fold it neatly into a drawer. Destroy it. Because if you don't, he will return. Second, declare aloud with fire in your voice who you no longer are. You must say it until it shivers out of your nervous system. I no longer tolerate hesitation. I no longer ask permission to be excellent. I no longer answer to the man who kept me average. This is not metaphor, this is ritual, and heaven responds to ritual. Each morning, look in the mirror and say, the man I was is not allowed to speak today. And then listen. The voice of doubt will try to speak up. Shut it down, out loud. Train your subconscious like a servant, not a master. Because until you train your identity, you will continue to perform as the man you claimed to bury. You must also purge, physically. If you still dress like the man who doubted, change your wardrobe. If your room, your desk, your home reflects the man of yesterday, reorder your environment. Throw away the clothes of weakness. Remove the books, objects, symbols of your drift. Replace them with tools, declarations, and triggers that serve your new self. This is not vanity, it is alignment. Do not keep comfort food for your soul lying around. That playlist, that photo, that chair you waste hours in, All of it must bow to the new identity. If anything in your life reminds you of stagnation, remove it, because even one relic of your past self is enough to anchor your future. Now let us speak the truth plainly. This execution is not a one-time event. It is daily. Just as a soldier rises and puts on the uniform, you must rise and refuse the old skin. Refuse the old voice. Refuse the old delay. The world will tempt you to soften, to return to your familiar self. But that man is gone, and you are not obligated to mourn him. The longer you coddle your old self, the longer you delay your new mission. Say this now. I no longer pause for approval. I do not answer the voice of yesterday. I walk in identity, not apology. I have buried the man who wasted my fire, and I will not exhume him. The old version of me does not get to speak in this season. This is not exaggeration. This is spiritual surgery, because the truth is there is no room in you for both. The man who plays small and the man who leads, they cannot share the same body. You must choose. And if that choice is real, if you have the conviction to kill the coward in your mind, then what lies ahead will not merely be success. It will be legacy. The sword has been given. Now use it. Slay the man who once survived and become the man who now commands. The world has never been changed by men who merely spoke boldly. It has been changed by men who stood boldly. Your posture precedes your performance. Before a word escapes your lips, before a project begins or a door opens, the world has already studied your stance. They are watching your gait, your eyes, your shoulders. They are looking not for eloquence, but for evidence, not for perfection, but for posture, because posture reveals belief. And belief, when expressed through the body, commands obedience from the world. And you may think no one sees you yet. You may imagine your efforts are hidden, your fire unnoticed. But the moment you align yourself with a definite chief aim, especially one rooted in divine mission, you are no longer hidden. You are being tested by heaven and studied by men. They are not waiting for your business card. They are watching your composure under fire. They are not asking for your credentials. They are measuring the certainty in your eyes. They are not concerned with your resume. They are asking one thing: does this man walk like he belongs where he's headed? John D. Rockefeller built more than an empire. He built assurance. His posture, his discipline in walk, his unshakable routine, his deliberate speech became the proof of trust before he ever spoke of wealth. People followed him not because of what he promised, but because of how he moved. He sat like a man who could not be shaken. He walked like a man who already owned what others merely pursued. This, too, must become your standard. Your walk must not apologize. Your handshake must not beg. Your voice must not end in a question mark, because the man who represents God's purpose must not arrive like a boy seeking approval. He must move like a general sent under orders. Understand, posture is not pride. It is precision in presence. Look at the men who changed the course of industries, of governments, of nations. Did Carnegie hunch into a room, uncertain whether his words mattered? Did Roosevelt sit in shame when physical weakness overtook his body? No. They straightened their backs when the burden came, because posture is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of decision. And decision has a shape. It takes up space. So train yourself. Train your shoulders to square when fear shows up. Train your voice to speak slowly without rush or apology. Train your handshake to lock eyes, to own the moment. Train your presence to walk one step ahead of doubt, not behind it. Even when alone, especially when alone, your movements must match your mission. You do not slouch in solitude. You do not mutter in the dark. You walk your hallways with royalty, because a man on a mission from God knows, I am being watched by the invisible. The world may not applaud at first, but it will obey conviction. It always does. Now hear this. The man who slouches through life, even if he claims to believe, has already surrendered his influence, because his body has told the truth. I do not fully believe I am who I say I am. But the man who stands, who walks, who eats, writes, and even breathes with purpose, this man creates a gravitational pull. Others orbit around him not because he yells, but because he radiates order. You are not called to blend in with drift. You are called to stand so tall that confusion must part around you. So create new habits. When you rise in the morning, do not reach for distraction. Stand, feet grounded, shoulders drawn back, and say aloud, "Today I am watched by the unseen. I walk like I have already won." Before you enter a room, breathe slowly, adjust your posture, walk with quiet command, speak last if needed. But speak like a man who already knows what must be built. Even your handwriting should reflect posture. Do not scribble your definite chief aim in haste. Write it with reverence. Script it like a king writing a law that governs his kingdom. Because the world is not waiting for your next sentence. It is waiting for your stance. Say this now. I walk like the ground belongs to me. My shoulders do not carry fear. They carry fire. I do not beg with my body, I build with it. I am the type of man whose presence commands even in silence. And if you do this long enough, not for performance, but for principle, then you will notice something extraordinary. People will begin to treat you differently. Opportunities will arrive not because you chase them, but because your stature announced you were ready. Doors will open not because you asked, but because your presence declared permission had already been granted. This is the posture of a man on assignment. This is how heaven trusts him with more. Not when he feels ready, not when he's applauded, but when he walks like he already bears the crown. And from this day forward, so must you. You were not made to linger in doorways. You were made to walk through them. The tragedy of many men is not that they disobeyed a calling, but that they delayed it. They waited for a sign, a green light, a whisper of permission, never realizing that hesitation is the greatest form of disobedience. When a man says, "I will," but does not move, he has already said no, because heaven does not measure your intention. It measures your action. God does not anoint the hesitant. He does not crown the cautious. Heaven watches the man who acts as if the matter is already settled, because in truth it is. You were not placed on this earth to ask if you are worthy. You were placed here to prove that you already are. And the only proof heaven requires is motion. Faith without works is not just incomplete, it is insulting. You were not born to rehearse your doubts in prayer. You were born to make your life a declaration of faith through what you do. The most powerful prayer is movement, and the most sacred worship is decision. Do not forget this. Decision is the language of kings. Indecision is the vocabulary of the spiritually poor. When Thomas Edison burned through filament after filament, when he ran test after test with no result, he did not stop to ask if he should continue. He did not demand a cosmic sign. He did not wait for applause or evidence. He moved, he failed fast, he adjusted, and he conquered. Because to Edison, the question was never if he would succeed, it was when. This is the posture of the man heaven honors. You are not waiting on clarity. Clarity is waiting on commitment. The moment you decide, truly decide, the universe begins to rearrange. Not before, not while you weigh your options, but the instant your voice matches the conviction of your heart. The man who waits to be certain will never build. The man who builds before he sees will shape the world. So stop asking, start declaring, stop wondering, start walking, stop circling the gate, break it open. You have prayed long enough. Now heaven is asking, when will you move? Every dream, every breakthrough, every new chapter is unlocked not by talent, not by strategy, but by one final act, a decision made and honored like a vow. That vow must be written. It must be spoken. It must be carved into your schedule, your spine, and your speech, because nothing happens until you choose. Nothing becomes real until you shut the door on Plan B. Your destiny does not belong to the man who hesitates. It belongs to the man who draws a line in the sand and says, I will build this, I will become this, and I will not ask again. Understand this. Indecision drains your strength more than failure ever could. The man who fails learns. The man who delays dies slowly, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. His vision rots inside his chest while he convinces himself he's being wise. But decision is wisdom, and discipline is its proof. So if your dream has lived in your mind for more than a week and you have not moved, write it now. Name it, declare it, give it a date, and set fire to everything that competes with it. How do you break free from indecision? 3 sacred practices. First, repetition. Say your definite chief aim every morning and every night with clarity and force. Let it train your subconscious to treat your future as now. Second, declaration. Tell people what you are building. Speak it aloud to men you respect. The tongue is a sword, and once drawn it must cut. Do not let your dream remain a secret. Secrets are buried. Declarations are built. Third, deadlines. A man without a date is a man without direction. Time is not your enemy. Drift is. So give your dream a due date and give your habits a countdown. And if you do these 3 things with full belief, without wavering, something holy happens. Heaven begins to back your steps. Favor follows function. Doors you never knocked on begin to open. People you never called begin to find you, because you no longer look like a man who is waiting. You look like a man on assignment. Say this with me now. I do not ask, I act. I no longer audition for my destiny, I walk in it. My decision is made. My habits prove it. My actions declare it. And if you say this with fire, not just once, but every day, then even your enemies will begin to move out of your way, because nothing frightens confusion more than a man who has decided. That is the man heaven honors. And that is who you must now become. A man cannot fulfill a divine mission alone. Even Christ surrounded himself with 12. Even Lincoln consulted men of fire and steel. The idea that you are meant to march alone is not strength, it is deception. It is the lie whispered by the enemy to keep you isolated, fragile, and easily broken. The truth is this: the greatness you seek does not come merely from what you know, but from who you walk beside. The mastermind is not a concept, it is a covenant, a bond of minds, forged by shared purpose, driven by spiritual fire, and disciplined by honor. And until you form such a covenant, you will continue to carry your calling as a burden, not as a blessing. Look closely at every man who has done anything worth remembering. Andrew Carnegie may have been the titan of steel, but it was Charles Schwab who sharpened his methods and amplified his presence. Schwab was not a follower. He was an extension of Carnegie's resolve. They were not business partners alone. They were bound by a higher aim, a shared obsession with expansion. Likewise, Henry Ford did not rise in a vacuum. His circle was tight, structured, and loyal. His advisors were not yes men. They were future men, men who could see 10 years ahead and speak as if it was already done. Manuel Quezon, the first president of the Philippine Commonwealth, built not just a government, but a movement, by selecting men whose spirits were fused with national destiny. They didn't just agree, they aligned. This is the essence of the mastermind. The mastermind is not a meeting. It is not a book club. It is a spiritual army assembled for conquest. It is not about networking. It is about covenant. The man on mission must choose his circle with the same precision a general chooses his lieutenants, because every mind you invite into your plans is either planting faith or planting fracture. Some men do not look dangerous, but their opinions are poison. They make fear sound like caution. They speak doubt like wisdom. They applaud smallness. They delay vision with politeness. You cannot afford such men in your ear. Not now, not ever. This is why you must build your mastermind as if your life depends on it, because it does. You need men around you who are not impressed with your words but obsessed with your results. Men who do not flatter but fuel. Who speak strategy, not sympathy. who remind you of your definite chief aim when you start speaking like a stranger to your purpose. One man of clarity beside you is worth more than 1,000 followers who merely support you with silence. And if you are married, this command becomes even more sacred. Your wife is not an ornament. She is your highest mastermind, your most powerful spiritual ally, or your most dangerous distraction. If you are not walking toward God together, you are drifting apart, even if you share a roof. Do not mistake proximity for alignment. Revive the vision together. Schedule it. Pray together with the intensity of two soldiers planning battle. Speak your definite chief. Aim aloud to one another. Make decisions from the same spiritual page. And if she once aligned and now seems distant, do not blame her. Lead her. Set the tone again. Build the altar again. Remind her and yourself that you were never meant to rule alone. If you are single, be ruthless about your inner circle. When a man is not yet yoked to a woman, he must double down on his brotherhood. This is the time to seek out men of fire, men of bold words and bolder actions, men who study not just to learn, but to apply. Share your aim with them. Speak your daily rituals aloud in their presence. Challenge one another to rise, and if no such men are near you, become the man they would follow, and you will begin to attract them. The mastermind once formed becomes your shield. When doubt attacks you, their words hold the line. When fatigue tempts you to ease off, their pace reawakens your fire. When life throws obstacles, your circle clears the path, not with sympathy, but with strategy. And in return, you do the same for them. That is the law, that is the bond, that is the sacred contract. So look around you. Who is in your presence? Who hears your dreams? Who touches your thoughts with their speech? Audit them, not with judgment, but with clarity. Are they feeding your fire or smothering it? Are they speaking with heaven's breath or with the cowardice of the drifting masses? Are they helping you build a kingdom or merely passing time beside you until your dream dies in delay? Write their names, study their posture, and if you find even one voice that echoes with power, honor it. Keep that man close. If you find none, then become that man yourself. Begin the ritual of daily declaration, strategic planning, mutual review, and covenant meetings. Speak as if your union is being recorded in heaven, because it is. Now say this aloud with me. I do not walk alone, I walk aligned. My circle sharpens me. I attract men of vision and I honor their fire. I build a mastermind of destiny, not convenience. And if you are married, we are not just partners, we are a covenant. We speak as one, we rise as one, we walk as one. The man who builds his circle like an altar will never face battle alone. And heaven does not just watch, it rewards. You have prayed for purpose. You have asked to be chosen. You have declared yourself a man of vision. But have you counted the cost? Have you prepared your back to carry the crown? Because obedience is not light. Purpose is not gentle. And the man who begs to be great while complaining of the burden reveals that he was never ready for the assignment, only for the attention. Let this truth strike deep. The heaviness is the evidence. You were not born for ease, and the pain you feel is not punishment. It is preparation. Heaven does not anoint those who ask for comfort. Heaven anoints those who carry. Look at Theodore Roosevelt, born frail and asthmatic, with a chest that wheezed and lungs that threatened to stop his breath. And yet he rose, not merely to survive, but to conquer, to become the very embodiment of vigor, force, and ferocity. Why? Because he understood that obedience to a divine mission means you do not ask for lighter burdens. You build a stronger back. Every cold morning in the gymnasium, every trembling breath in the saddle, every page he devoured with fire in his eyes was not for health alone. It was obedience. His mission demanded strength, so he built it. And Abraham Lincoln, do not speak of pain unless you've walked through his night. The man lost child after child, battled the collapse of a union, carried the agony of a divided people on his shoulders, and still walked forward. still rose each morning, still declared his vision. He did not flinch at the weight. He bore it because he believed. His agony was not an interruption to purpose. It was his purpose, because every man of destiny must know what it feels like to lead with tears in his eyes and a crown pressed down on his brow. So now I say to you, if your calling feels heavy, good. If you wake with dread, press forward. If the weight on your shoulders feels unbearable, do not question your worth. Question your stamina, and then build it. This is the crown of obedience. This is what it means to walk not as a volunteer, but as a man under orders. And here is where most men fail, not because they lack vision, but because they never trained for the weight of vision. They spoke great words with soft backs. They declared destiny with fragile minds. And when the load arrived, they dropped it and called it unfair. But you will not fold, because today you will train. Today you will build rituals that match your mission. Begin with your body. If your frame cannot obey, how will your faith? Rise earlier, move daily, lift with intention. Your body is not for aesthetics. It is a vessel for purpose. Every rep is a reminder. I carry something greater than comfort. Sweat on your brow is not weakness. It is a covenant, a physical reminder that you are not here to be seen. You are here to be used. Then build your emotional armor. When the voices come, critics, doubts, delays, you must not absorb them. You must reflect them. Train your tongue to speak certainty. Train your posture to stand in storms. When your emotions quake, you return to ritual. You open the notebook. You write your definite chief aim. You speak it aloud. You look yourself in the eye in the mirror and say, I was chosen for this, and I will not drop it. And finally, train your spirit. Obedience is not about performance. It is about proximity. You do not obey your purpose once. You return to it daily like a soldier returning to command. Create your altar, whether it is a corner of your home, the seat in your car, the walk around the block, wherever you can bow your heart and declare, I do not carry this weight alone. I carry it with heaven. Say this now. I asked for purpose, and I received weight. I will not complain. I will carry. I do not ask for ease. I ask for endurance. My burden is proof of my crown. I do not fear pressure. It reveals my strength. I am built to carry what most men drop. This is your turning point. You will no longer pray for less responsibility. You will no longer retreat when it gets heavy. You will stop looking for lighter paths and start forging stronger shoulders. You will stop identifying with weakness, delay, and excuses. Because when heaven looked across eternity and sought a man who could carry this mission, it chose you. Now rise. The crown is heavy. Lift it anyway. You were not sent here to pursue what pleases you. You were sent here to fulfill what was placed within you before you even breathed your first breath. Purpose precedes preference. It does not ask for your mood. It does not request your comfort. It commands your obedience. And until you learn to put calling before convenience, until you rise and act while your emotions scream for delay, you will remain a man of potential, not power. The tragedy of modern man is that he has mistaken feeling for guidance. He believes that discomfort is a sign to stop. He waits to feel motivated, energized, affirmed. But the man of destiny is different. He understands the divine law. You do not act because you feel like it. You act until your body and soul remember who they serve. Emotion is not the engine. It is the echo. If you wait to feel strong before you act strong, you will remain weak. If you wait to feel ready before you begin, you will die unstarted. Henry Ford, in his early years, was ridiculed not only by the world, but by his own circle. Friends advised him to give up. Associates told him the motor car was foolish. Reason said, take the safe road. But Ford did not wait for emotional alignment. He acted as though the decision had already been made in heaven, and it had. His faith was not in his feelings, it was in the assignment. He did not build Ford Motor Company because he had preference. He built it because he had purpose. And purpose, divine, sacred purpose, requires a man to obey through emotional fog, through fear, through fatigue, through frustration. That is the test. That is the path. Let me speak clearly. If you keep following your feelings, they will lead you in circles. One day of motivation, one day of doubt, one moment of fire, 1 week of fog, and you will call this being human. But the man of purpose knows that greatness is not built on the days he feels strong. It is built on the days he acts strong anyway. So I give you this ritual. Take a page. At the top, write your definite chief aim, the sacred statement of what you are building with your life. Write it in bold. Speak it aloud. Then, underneath it, write every feeling that has threatened to stop you this week. I feel tired. I feel unsure. I feel alone. I feel afraid. Write them all. Every voice, every lie, every weakness pretending to be wisdom. Then draw a line under them and write the words, I choose purpose anyway. And then act. Not tomorrow, not later, now. This is spiritual warfare. The battlefield is between your preferences and your purpose, and only one of them will rule. One of them will get your time, your energy, your obedience, and whichever one wins daily becomes your life. You say you want to walk in divine favor. Then you must stop living according to emotional weather. You must be the man who rises in the rain, who moves in the fog, who declares when his voice shakes, who writes when he wants to weep, who leads when no one claps, who obeys without applause. That is what heaven promotes. Say these now, not as suggestion, but as spiritual declaration. I was not made for comfort. I was made for conquest. My emotions do not direct me. My purpose does. I choose discipline over desire. I act now, not later. I obey when it hurts. That is how I prove I'm ready. You are not average. You are not placed here to float on waves of impulse. You were sent with a flame, and that flame must burn regardless of weather. That flame must be protected regardless of feeling, because you will not be judged by how you felt. You will be measured by what you built. So from this moment forward, do not ask yourself, do I feel like it? Ask yourself, what did I say I would build? And then move. Move with fire. Move with grit. Move with the spirit of a man who knows heaven has already said yes. Now it is time to prove you believe it. There is no such thing as a neutral word. Every word that leaves your lips either builds the kingdom you were sent to erect, or it bends the knee to fear and doubt. And yet, how many men speak as if their voices have no consequence? How many utter complaints without realizing they are cursing their own soil? How many confess confusion, powerlessness, weariness, and then wonder why life continues to match that echo? You are a man on assignment. You are not adrift. You are not aimless. You are a soldier with spiritual orders, and soldiers do not speak loosely. They speak with direction. They speak only what reinforces the mission. You cannot afford to open your mouth and betray your destiny. The tongue is not a toy. It is a torch. And if you wave it carelessly, you will either light the path forward or burn down the house you were called to build. The principle of autosuggestion, though widely ignored, is a divine tool placed in your hand. It is the sacred act of speaking your identity, your aim, and your authority until your subconscious submits. You do not speak merely to feel better. You speak to instruct your being, your brain, and the very fabric of your environment. You speak to command alignment. You speak because silence is the soil where doubt multiplies. Thomas Edison, in the thick of his thousands of failed experiments, never declared defeat. His vocabulary was not one of error, it was one of outcome. When asked why he kept going despite so many failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This was not cleverness. It was command. He had trained his tongue to build, not to break. He had sanctified his speech until every word he spoke reflected the outcome, not the obstacle. I say this without hesitation. If you are careless with your words, you will never be trusted with power, because words are the first measure of dominion. God spoke, and the world was. You must do the same, not because you are divine, but because you were made in the image of the one who commands creation. You will never walk in greatness until your language reflects it. So here is your discipline. Begin each morning not with thought, but with declaration. Before you check a device, before you consume the world, you must first remind it who you are. Stand up, shoulders back, voice steady. Look yourself in the mirror and speak your assignment. Say it until you believe it. Say it until your heart stops resisting it. Say it until the world bows to it. Write 3 statements you will say daily, every morning and every night. One about who you are, one about what you are building, one about what you refuse to tolerate, and make no exceptions, even in exhaustion, even in heartbreak, even in defeat, especially then. Because words are not just tools of power, they are tools of return. When your mind drifts, your declarations bring you back. When fear shouts, your speech silences it. When doubt seduces you with comfort, your mouth must answer with purpose. You cannot afford to speak like a common man if you are to live as one sent by God. From this day forward, let no complaint pass your lips unchecked. Let no sarcasm or self-humiliation remain hidden in your speech. Let no story be told unless it affirms the man you are becoming. You are a man on assignment. Your tongue is part of your weaponry. Keep it sharp. Keep it holy. Now repeat these not for motivation, but as law. I do not speak defeat, even when I feel it. My voice commands the direction of my day. Every word I speak is a seed of my future. I carry kingdom weight in my language. I speak as the man who has already arrived. Speak like a man who knows that every syllable is either sowing a garden or digging a grave. Speak like a man who was sent, not to participate in noise, but to declare new reality. And let the world be shaped by the force of your mouth, because heaven is waiting on a voice that matches the vision. Speak now. Speak with fire. Speak and build. There comes a time in every man's life when he must cease looking toward the future as if it were something distant and mysterious, and instead begin to summon it with the authority of one who has already received it. This is that time, and not tomorrow, not next week. Now the future you seek will never arrive by chance, nor will it appear by idle observation. It must be called forth, walked in, and worn like a mantle. The world does not respond to the man who waits for his reward. It obeys the one who moves as if he already carries it. This principle, though invisible, is immutable. You must act as if it is already done. You must rise from your bed with the cadence of certainty in your step. You must speak as though your voice holds the weight of what you have already built. You must dress your posture in reverence and readiness, not for performance, but for purpose. You are not waiting for validation. You are fulfilling an assignment, and that requires you to begin now, not as a man becoming, but as a man who has become. Consider this. When a general is commissioned by his king, he does not linger in doubt over the authority given to him. He does not question whether he should take the battlefield. He does not pace the ground, waiting to feel ready. He mounts his horse, draws his sword, and rides because he was sent. And a man who is sent does not hesitate. In the same way, you must carry yourself not as a beggar of permission, but as a carrier of a divine command. Too many men delay their greatness because they are waiting to feel ready. They seek signs. They beg for confirmations. They poll the opinions of the average and look for applause before action. But listen well, that is not how heaven operates. Heaven does not bless the man who waits for certainty. It moves for the man who moves in certainty. This is why the most powerful phrase you can embed into your spirit is this: it is already done. This is not a metaphor. It is not wishful thinking. It is the spiritual command posture of men like Ford, who saw factories running in his mind before the first machine was ever constructed. It is the unseen force that drove Carnegie to design his fortune in thought before a single dollar existed. These men were not reacting to life. They were writing it. And they wrote from the end. They did not begin with questions. They began with decisions. They did not wait for applause. They acted like they were reporting to God himself, and they built accordingly. So I challenge you now to live for 1 week, not from your present condition, but from your completed vision. Do not speak as the man who is trying. Speak as the man who has done. Do not move like the man who is wondering. Move like the man who knows. If your vision is to lead a company, walk like its founder today. If your vision is to be a father of strength, speak to your children with the conviction of legacy. If your vision is to be a man of faith, pray, act, and give as if God has already entrusted you with nations. Let nothing about your manner suggest that you are unsure. Every motion must reflect the crown already placed upon your head. Every hour of your day must be governed by one idea. I am the man who has already fulfilled what God placed in me. And if you do this, even for 1 week, your mind will begin to rearrange itself. Your subconscious will stop questioning. Your doubts will lose their footing. And your environment, yes, the very air around you, will begin to shift. You see, the universe does not respond to potential. It responds to command. And command only comes when the soul no longer seeks permission. You were not sent here to dabble, to wander, or to ask the world who you are. You were sent to reveal it. You were sent to act as if the scroll has already been handed to you, the mission already assigned, the outcome already written. And now your only duty is obedience. Obedience in posture. Obedience in execution. Obedience in identity. Write this in your journal. Write it on your mirror. Write it in the front of your notebook or wherever your eyes will see it every day. It is already done. I walk in it. Then live accordingly. Begin the day with this phrase. Today, I report for duty. Not as a man waiting, not as a man hoping, but as a man sent. Speak with clarity. Move with discipline. Dress with precision. Shake hands with fire in your grip. Schedule your hours as if the throne has already been prepared for you. Because it has. Heaven is not wondering who you are. It is waiting for you to agree with who you are. Declare this daily. I am not becoming, I am revealing. I no longer ask for what I already possess. My steps are ordered, and I walk as one crowned. I move with the boldness of a man who knows heaven trusts him. I do not carry potential. I carry purpose already assigned. This is the final shift. This is where men stop preparing and begin performing. This is where fear dies, where doubt flees, where silence turns to thunder. It is already done. Now act like it. Every man who accomplishes anything of significance must first declare his intention, not merely to the world, but to himself and to his Creator. There must be a moment when he stops drifting in ambiguity and writes his life's vow upon paper, not as a wish, but as a commandment he now chooses to obey. And it is in this exercise that you will perform such a declaration. You will write your commission letter. This is not a journal entry. This is not an affirmation. This is a formal acceptance of your divine assignment. It is the document that marks the day you stopped wandering and began building with clarity. You are not waiting to discover your mission. You are now choosing to accept what has already been embedded in your spirit by design. Begin with the phrase, I accept the mission to, and then you must write it with the weight of one who has already seen the battlefield and still chooses to walk into it. Do not write from fear. Do not water it down to appease your doubt. Speak to your soul. What were you sent here to do? Who are you meant to become? What assignment burns in your chest when the noise of the world is quiet? Write it plainly. Speak it boldly. Name the mountain you are meant to move. This letter is not to be hidden in a drawer. Once written, it must become visible. It must confront you daily. Print it. Frame it. Place it where your eyes will meet it in the moments of morning silence and in the late hours of temptation. Your commission letter is your spiritual anchor. When distraction comes, it reminds you. When weakness knocks, it answers. When fear whispers, it roars back with direction. And understand this, your mission may evolve, but your obedience must not. That is why every month you must sit before your commission letter and review it. Is it still aligned? Is it still active? Has your life conformed to its instruction? If not, revise it. Not to dilute its power, but to refine its clarity. You are not writing fiction. You are writing orders from heaven. Let the content of your letter include 3 key declarations. First, who you are choosing to be. Not who you've been. Not what others have called you. But the identity that reflects your divine assignment. Write with fire. I am a man of discipline. I am the voice that cuts through confusion. I am the leader heaven trusts. Second, what you have been called to build or accomplish. Speak with specificity. I am to build a company that multiplies good and crushes mediocrity. I am to raise sons and daughters who never forget who they are. I am to use my voice to awaken the dormant leaders in men. Third, how you will obey daily. This is the part where dreams become habits. Write exactly how your actions will now align with the assignment. I rise before dawn. I recite my definite chief aim aloud every morning and night. I eliminate excuses by confronting them at the door. I surround myself only with those who ignite my mission. Once your letter is written, you must do one more thing. Recite it aloud, not once, but every single day. A man's words must not only be read, they must be heard in his own voice, echoing back into his subconscious until the mind begins to move without questioning. You are not simply reading a page. You are installing instruction into your spirit. Do not mumble it. Do not rush it. Speak it like a soldier repeating his oath. Speak it like your life depends on it, because it does. If you are surrounded by others, spouse, children, brothers of the mastermind, invite them to witness this declaration. Let your household hear the shift. Let the air in your home carry the new authority in your voice. If alone, say it in the mirror, eye to eye. Speak to the reflection until you see the man rise up from behind your eyes. And if there is ever a day you feel weak, confused, or small, return to this letter. Let it cut through the fog like the edge of a sword. Let it remind you that you are not a man wandering through life, hoping to stumble into purpose. You are a man commissioned by the highest authority, and this letter is the proof that you said yes. Now pick up your pen and write the orders heaven has already placed inside you. There comes a time in a man's journey when the planning must end and the proving must begin. No more theory, no more waiting for the right moment. If you are to act as if you are on a mission from God, then you must now live like it, not for a lifetime, not for a month, but for the next 7 days. This exercise is not merely a suggestion, it is a test, a proving ground, a sacred invitation to walk in such alignment with your assignment that doubt cannot follow you. For the next 7 days, you are to live as though heaven is watching, and not only watching, but measuring. Every word, every decision, every hesitation or act of boldness is part of your spiritual report. You will rise early, not because you feel like it, but because men on divine orders do not negotiate with sleep. You will begin each morning by standing upright, shoulders back, and declaring aloud who you are and what you are building. This declaration is not for motivation, it is programming. Speak your definite chief aim aloud with conviction. Write it down as though you are etching it into the stone tablets of your destiny. You will act each day as a man already crowned. There is no room for drift. If it must be done, do it. If fear whispers, walk faster. If comfort seduces, turn your face with fire. You are not to seek permission. You are to move as if you already possess the authority. No delay, no debate. You are to perform your work, speak your vision, and carry yourself like a general executing sacred orders. Throughout each of the 7 days, track 4 things with discipline: your energy, your speech, your obedience, and your posture. Is your energy sharp, or is it scattered? Are you choosing words that build your mission or ones that betray it? Did you obey your inner command, or did you talk yourself out of action again? And finally, did your posture reflect a man who has already accepted the crown, or one who is still waiting for applause? This journal is not for performance. It is for precision. You are measuring the gap between the man you were and the man you were meant to be. And here is the truth few will tell you. After these 7 days, if you obey this ritual with full intent, you will no longer want to go back. Something will awaken in you. Your old excuses will feel foreign. The laziness that once felt acceptable will now feel dishonorable. You will begin to taste the substance of what it means to walk in alignment, and that taste will spoil all forms of drifting thereafter. Most men never make it past day 3, not because the practice is hard, but because it is honest. It reveals who you are without excuse, and it demands you never settle for less again. At the end of the 7th day, sit down in silence and ask yourself this: who was I before this? And who am I now? Write your answer with full presence. You may find that you do not need another book or speech or breakthrough. You only needed a stretch of days where you refused to live like you were optional. This 7-day exercise is more than a trial. It is a bridge from who you were to who you must now live as. If you complete it, you will not only feel the shift, you will become the shift. So rise, declare, write, and walk. Not tomorrow, not later, but now, as if your future depends on it, because it does. There are no ordinary men, only men who have forgotten the fire they were born with, only men who have allowed the world to convince them that they are random, replaceable, unnecessary. But let me remind you of a truth far older than your doubts. Every man who breathes was sent here with sacred instruction. You were not placed on earth to blend in. You were commissioned to build, to lead, to burn through darkness like a sword carried by heaven itself. You do not need a permission slip from society to walk boldly. You do not require applause from your peers to begin. You are not awaiting approval. You were already approved by the very breath of God the day you were born. And if you are still alive, still listening, still hungry, then your assignment is not finished. That means your fire must not flicker, your stance must not sway, and your voice must not tremble. The time for playing small has passed. The era of polite hesitation must end. There is no man on earth more dangerous than one who knows he was sent, because such a man no longer begs, he builds. He no longer hides, he commands. He no longer questions whether he's enough. He declares, if God sent me, then I am enough. You were made to terrify excuses. You were built to dismantle drift. Every act of obedience you take is not only a victory for your destiny, but a threat to the powers of delay, doubt, and fear. Do you understand? When you rise, you raise the standard. When you walk in alignment, you disrupt the spiritual laziness of generations. When you carry your crown, others remember theirs. That is the weight of your life, and the reason you cannot afford to wait one more moment to accept it fully. So stop asking to feel ready. You were born ready. The war has already begun, and your soul has already enlisted. You don't need more signs. You are the sign. You don't need another breakthrough. You need to become the breakthrough. This is not the end of a speech. This is the ignition of an era. So speak it now, declare it aloud, and let heaven hear you. I act as one sent by God. I carry the weight of heaven on my shoulders, and I do not shrink. This is my assignment. I will finish it. And when you walk away from this message, do not drift. Do not delay. Do not look back. Because the man who walks in purpose never walks alone, and the world has no defense for a man who moves like he was sent.